Week starting this week?
All right, we're recording right now. Everybody's good. Everybody's good.
Good, yeah.
All right. It's the Lex and Pete show, late night. It's our regularly scheduled episode, but I think we're going to take a little bit of a different direction. This is our reaction episode, emergency state of the union about the Patriots. This is following Monday night's loss against the Bears. I think this might have been a season-defining loss. I think it's something that we all have a lot of thoughts on. I think it's something to be concerned about. We'll get to that in a second. Let's first get to our sponsors. As always, Lex and Pete is brought to you by Sundog Multimedia. Sundog Multimedia is an online communication and social media company. They were once just a personal tool that has since evolved into something much bigger, allowing users to communicate, research, and discover things that impact their lives and daily decisions. Sundog will collaborate with you to help build a modern yet nimble social media strategy by utilizing innovative and traditional media principles. Sundog is also a proud supporter of the Stop Soldier Suicide Foundation. You can follow Sundog on Instagram at Sundog_multimedia. That's Instagram at Sundog_multimedia. Brains, brawn, and true professionalism. That's easy peasy moving and service, moving, muscle for hire, assembly, errands, you name it. Easy peasy is a multi-purpose team. If you need something, just ask. I will say, as everybody knows, I just moved into an apartment down in New Jersey. Easy peasy helped me. I pulled up in my U-Haul. They were there waiting for me. Grabbed everything right out of the truck. Within minutes, I swear, everything was in the apartment. It was good to go. And just like that, week later, I'm completely moved in. Everything's great. We're completely settled in. Everything's hung. Everything's fantastic. That's easy peasy moving in service. So we brought our Wareham correspondent, Tyler Amaral, on. He's kind of the all things NFL, college, high school football. So I figured he was a good person to have on to kind of have a little bit of a reaction. We'll get right into it and I'll get it started. So I'm a guy that has always defended Bill Belichick. I took his side when Brady left.
Same.
I always said, it was 50-50. You wouldn't have Belichick without Brady and vice versa. You wouldn't have Brady without Belichick. But I've always been a Belichick defender. And for the first time in my life, not only am I unable to defend him, I'm unwilling to defend him. I mean, I stood by him, through all the good and the bad news. The Deflategate, I thought he had a perfect explanation of the ideal gas law. Bill Nye, he's a moron. The science guy doesn't understand how balls deflate, but we can get to that another time.
Maybe he's homeless.
When we're looking back and when we're looking at things, Sony Michel and Isaiah win over Lamar Jackson. That's fine, right? We got a Super Bowl with these guys. N'Keal Harry over Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, etc. Who cares? So what? We're fine. It's all good because there's plenty of receivers that are coming in all these drafts. Whatever, we can always go and grab one. We've gotten some good players in these drafts. I think this last draft class is looking, really good to start the year. And, obviously the big thing coming out of Monday was the quarterback controversy. I think going into the game, it was more of a media created thing. I didn't think that there was any quarterback controversy. I thought Zappe came in, he played great. I thought it was fantastic to know that we didn't have to rely on Brian Hoyer when Mac Jones would get hurt, that we actually had a reliable backup that could come in, continue to win games and do all that. And I thought as soon as Mac Jones came back, I thought he was going to go right in. He's our 15th overall pick. He was a Pro Bowler. He had, I'm pretty sure it's objectively the best rookie quarterback season of all time. And granted, Tom Brady didn't play as a rookie, but Drew Bledsoe did. We've had some good quarterbacks come through the system at times, and for Mac Jones to come in, step right in, and I think the big thing about Mac Jones last year was that it was widely believed that he was stepping into the best situation. At this point, I don't know how you can say that, right? I mean, you're looking at what the Jets have done for Zach Wilson. They went out and they got weapons, right? They have Elijah Moore, who, obviously it sounds like he wants out, but he's coming back and playing this week. They went out, they drafted him Garrett Wilson. They worked and they've gotten him an O-line. They signed Corey Davis. They drafted Breece Hall. They got Michael Carter. They've given him all these weapons and given him a chance to succeed. Trevor Lawrence, you can, have your qualms about the actual talent level of those receivers, but the Jags went out and spent millions of dollars to give him, these guys. And, we're seeing these top picks get these opportunities to succeed. And I think going into last or Monday night was kind of the culmination of everything, where we're seeing that Mac Jones was not being set up to succeed. I think that with how the crowd was and how they were getting pumped up for Zappe, with how Zappe was playing, and, with the media really hyping it up. I mean, Joe Buck was really hammering that quarterback controversy, talking about seeing both guys and, when's it going to happen? Joe Buck couldn't wait for Bailey Zappe to come, and he was excited when it happened. And I feel like the crowd was just a powder keg. And I feel like Belichick, he allowed Felger, Maz, DJ Bean, these morons that are tailgating at the game and calling into the Sports Hub and WEI and everything. I feel like he allowed them to coach the team. And I feel like for the first time ever, I've truly felt like Belichick has lost it. And I'm hoping that somebody could take me off the ledge. We can get into more details, whatever. We'll start with Tyler Amaral. How are you feeling about the Pats game? I know that we've talked about it offline a little bit, but I'd love to hear your thoughts here on the pod.
I feel horrible about it. I mean, it's one of the worst losses I can remember the last 20 plus years. There's literally no positive from that game. Not a single one. I mean, Anthony Jennings, he popped a little bit, so that's cool. But like you said, it seems like they're setting Mac up for failure, right? Like kind of added some weapons, whatever. Went out and spent before they even drafted him. They went and spent in free agency. So they upgraded talent-wise by adding Devontae Parker in the offseason. Theoretically, the offense should have been better, but then you give the keys to Patricia and Judge, and it's like, I think everybody kind of came into this year with low expectations, and then the play calling is drastically and noticeably different when Mac and Zappe are in the game. So I don't know. Maybe it's an attitude thing. I'm usually not a conspiracy theorist, but maybe it truly is an attitude thing. And Belichick and Patricia are pissed at the way Mac, and I think the people that are kind of in Mac's corner on the team, like Kendrick Bourne, they were kind of outspoken about the offense through the summer, or maybe not 100% committed to the scheme throughout the summer. And maybe that didn't sit well with Patricia and Belichick. Maybe I'm reading into that a little bit too much, but it truly does seem like they're setting Mac up to fail.
Yeah, I agree. Before we get to Pete, I'll add in, because you brought up Kendrick Bourne. I think that all of a sudden it's one of these things where, I'm like the ultimate optimist when it comes to things. I hate having the knee-jerk reaction. So I never, if it's a trade, if it's a draft pick, if it's a coach signing, if it's a player signing, anything, I'm always like, let's at least see how it plays out, because I trust Belichick for everything. So if he thinks that this player is better than this player, or that this guy is worth a certain amount of money, or this guy should be the offensive coordinator, I figure, well, let's at least see how it goes, and then we can react to it, right? Because we've seen a lot of times where, you guys come in, it's like, what the hell was going on there? It's like, well, let's see what happens, because Belichick obviously likes the guy, and then all of a sudden a guy like Kyle Van Noy pops, and then he finds his role, and then, he's great on this team. But I think it does go back to the summer, and I think that it's no coincidence that all of a sudden we lose McDaniels, who, you can say whatever you want about him as a head coach, but you'll never hear anybody say a bad word about his knowledge of X's and O's and his ability to coach an offense and call the plays and do all that. And we look back and it's like, guys like Kendrick Bourne, but even going back to last year, like Michael O, how it's like, everybody wanted Michael O on that offensive line, and Belichick, it took forever to just finally get him in there and get him playing consistently and starting games and everything. And it's like, I feel like we're really starting to see Belichick's ego come out since Brady's left. And I think that, bringing back Joe Judge and bringing back Patricia was such an ego play, and sticking them in and having these guys that claim to know the system. But it's like, what the hell does Patricia know? I mean, he was by the time, he was our defensive coordinator, and sure, we won Super Bowls with him. But by the end of his tenure here, we were sick of him calling the defense. Then he goes to the Lions. He's a complete joke. He comes back, knows nothing about calling an offense. If we're watching a guy learn the ropes of how to call an offense in real time. And it's like, that's not something that should be happening during the season. If you wanted to make him an offensive assistant or something to learn that, and then eventually promote him, that would be great. But right now, Patricia shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a play sheet or a headset. He should be getting Belichick his coffee. He should be getting me coffee. He's a moron. So it just blows my mind. And then you hear that like a guy like Kendrick Bourne gets put in the doghouse because he was late to a meeting or something. But it's another thing where Kendrick Bourne and Mac Jones and these guys, they were guys that were starting to pop last year. Like I said, Mac Jones, he had this all-time great Patriots rookie season. He made the Pro Bowl. And you know, he was looking so great. And you hear all these like kind words from Belichick in the summer about how Mac has drastically improved and he's made all these strides and blah, 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 all this stuff. And it's like, we're not seeing that anymore. But I don't think that Mac's the problem, right? You know, I think that, you know, there's the unfair comparison because he's following Brady. And people kind of expect, you know, that type of greatness out of the quarterback position. I think it's unfair to expect that. If he reaches that point at some time, that'd be great. Because I mean, you know, it should always be said, whoever thought that Brady would reach that type of level, right? So it could come from out of anybody. But I still think that it's like, you know, to expect him to be kind of a, you know, above average starting quarterback, that's fine. You know, that's kind of what you can expect from these first round picks, a guy that can come in, start games and then build around him, but we're not giving him these chances. Pete, you know, you were a big Bailey Zappi guy, so I feel like we can kick it over to you. Zappi did come in, and you know, he obviously provided that instant spark. The crowd was going crazy. It seemed like the defense all of a sudden started turning up, and that lasted for a few drives, and then we came back out in the second half, and it feels like he kind of turned, you know, regressed a little bit. It was like Zappi hour kind of turned into a pumpkin. And, you know, not that he was playing bad, but all of a sudden we started seeing him not make the right throws. He's throwing interceptions and all that momentum was gone. And it went from feeling like, all right, if Mac doesn't work out, at least we have Zappi. So all of a sudden, what the hell do we have at quarterback? How are you feeling about the quarterback situation?
Yeah, I mean, first, let me address the Belichick comment because I'm not as down, or I guess I'm not ripping Belichick as much as you feel like you are. The one call that I just disagree with Belichick on is him telling the media or the team that he pulled Mac Jones because of injury. That's the one thing that I have a serious problem with. The guy went 3 and out through an interception. That is pulling him because of performance. That's pulling because of performance. There's a clip on the sideline of him talking to Kendrick Bourne saying, like, I'm out, like telling Kendrick Bourne he was out. You wouldn't do that if you were injured. You just wouldn't. You would go down and sit down. So that's the problem I have with Belichick. Outside that, I just think people are looking for someone to blame because we're tough in a quarterback situation right now, and no one likes to be in a quarterback situation. That's the only problem I have with Belichick. But when it comes to Zappi, you said it. Like, the team has jump. You put Zappi in the game, the team has jump. You can see the offensive line start moving. It feels like the wide receivers are moving a little more. The team has jump. He comes in, throws those first 2 touchdowns, which granted weren't great throws. Or 2 touchdown drives, 1 touchdown throw. That was not a great throw. Threw like behind the dude. I forget who it was, but
Jacoby was like
Jacoby Myers. Like
coverage. Jacoby
he had like 15 yards of
radius around him, or you know, everything. And
and that's just not a good throw. But I think like with Zappi, Tyler made the best point that the play calling is drastically different. Zappi is he requires like a special type of offense, right? The guy did not go under center in college, all shotgun, had a ton of protection, wasn't really on the run at all, and could just sling it from back there. So a lot of play action too. So like, I was thinking the game, thinking about how smoothly like Tyler Huntley fits into the Ravens offense, because Lamar Jackson, like, they're the same type of quarterback. They run the same play style. It's the same play calling. It looks almost like a seamless transition. You bring in Zappi, and it looks like we're calling a brand new offense. And, you know, you guys ragged on Patricia enough, but he's a rookie offensive coordinator, not great to begin with. Now he has to balance 2 different offenses with 2 different types of quarterbacks. That's what I saw from the game. It was a little disappointing. It didn't seem like we had a solid game plan or preparation, which is like our MO. So yeah, like the only thing I'm calling Belichick out for is pulling Mac. So saying he's pulling Mac because of injury when it's clearly performance, and having such a short leash with the guy. Like, just don't even start him at that point.
Yeah,
just start Zappi and give Mac a fresh start next week.
Yeah, so that's the thing too. Going back, you know, staying with the play calling, is that it's like, and you know, I don't want to rag on Zappi at all, because I don't think that the quarterbacks themselves are the problem at all.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I still, you know, I think people are too quick to judge. I mean, people are just throwing out a whole season that we just saw from Mac Jones for a few games that, you know, in comparison to who Zappi played, I think there's a big argument to just talk about, you know, we were playing the Dolphins, we were playing the Ravens, and then who was the third team that Mac played. But, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, Zappi, he comes in, he plays against the Packers, who we look back and we say, all of a sudden, you know, that's not that good of a team. He plays the Browns, who are missing Denzel Ward, Jadeveon Clowney, and then, you know, we're playing the Bears last night. And the Lions, you know, the Lions, and, you know, I mean, but you look at it and you got to think, right? People saw that 29-0 score with the Lions. We had 1 touchdown drive off of that, right? Against the Detroit Lions. We had a scoop and score, we had a touchdown, and then we had 5 field goals. You know, that's not that impressive an offensive performance. But again, you know, that's Zappi coming in, making his first start, right? but it's simplified, but it's like, I feel like all the big plays that we've seen from Zappy have been the result of busted coverage. And, at some point you have to say, well, am I going to say that every week? Because I feel like it's been 3-4 weeks in a row now that I've been saying that. But at the same time, it's like, Hunter Henry, I think our biggest passing play against the Lions was Hunter Henry. He had that huge reception. The guy that was covering him almost died mid-route. They had to have the ambulance come on. The guy all of a sudden just like froze up, fell to the ground. The ambulance had to come out and get the guy off the field. And then, but it's like, I just feel like every time, that touchdown he had against Green Bay, I think it was Devontae Parker. He was wide open. We saw it with Jacoby Myers on Monday. All of a sudden he slips open. The guy just completely sags off of him. He's wide open, and he still got the throw on him. It was not a fantastic throw, but he was wide open. It just feels like all these big plays that we have are doing it, and it's like Zappy's still finding the guy, which is great, and we're still getting that touchdown. But I guess my question is why is the only way we can move the ball on offense by calling checkdowns to the running back and then relying on the defense to completely fuck up and hoping that our quarterback sees that guy and can hit that guy. Besides that, we're not like scheming guys open. We're not really trying to get guys open in the middle of the field and, get those like little catch and run opportunities off the slants. It's like everything's dropping back, no receivers open. We dump it off. Like we got Dame Harris getting receptions now. And then, we're relying on Devontae Parker to completely moss a guy or for, the coverage to completely bust open and a guy's just left wide open. It's a complete mistake. So I think that's my biggest concern. I think it just goes back to Patricia. I think he is the problem here because he can't call an offense. He can't figure out something that works for our starting quarterback. And, we're unable to move the ball unless the defense like messes up. I don't know. Amaral, what do you think? Do you think that there's a solution out there? Do you think Belichick can actually see that and maybe go out and get an offensive guy? Or do you think maybe the ego's too big to, stick with it and not name an offensive coordinator, not name a defensive coordinator, rely on these guys that are kind of like his lackeys that just come back and just do whatever he says. And he's kind of the all-seeing eye that calls all the shots.
Well, I mean, it's not going to change this year. So we're going to have to live with Patricia. I'll say sometimes it's schemed really well. Like that long ball to Jacoby Myers, it was a busted coverage, but the play was schemed really well. Yeah. It was really well designed. So, I mean, Patricia has showed some potential. So I think there is a little bit of hope. I just, when there were reports that came out, must have been early last week or whatever, that Mac would welcome kind of like a middle ground between the plays that Patricia calls when he's in the game versus when Zappy's in the game. And I think that's really where they need to be. Find that, happy medium, even if it's more towards how they're calling the plays for Zappy. Whatever works. I don't care how it's done. Just move the ball. And then just like, so I've wanted Mac to start all along. Like I thought there was no quarterback, controversy or anything. But I do understand why people wanted Zappy in the game, and it's 100% everything's relative to expectations, right? Mac had a great rookie year. He's going into year 2. He starts off slow. He's turning the ball over a lot. Then Zappy comes in. He's not really turning the ball over. They're moving the ball efficiently up and down the field. So I think everything's just relative to expectations. And, Zappy really had nothing to lose, went out there, played pretty well, and fans fell in love with that.
Yeah, I saw a good comparison. I don't know if it was on the broadcast or not, but somebody compared it to the offenses that were running with both quarterbacks, where it's like Zappy, it's almost like a college class where Zappy's in the 100 level class and then Mac is taking the 300 level class. And that's kind of why. So like they're maybe giving him, they're challenging him more with maybe the offense that they're trying to run and asking more from him. And that's why Zappy's kind of getting more of the layups and, maybe things, maybe his luck falls into a better fortune or something because of how it's set up, where Mac maybe has to try and figure things out more on his own. But yeah, I think that the big thing was that, I think the injury was the worst thing that could happen to Mac because it allowed Zappy to come in, get that momentum and do all that. And I mean, that's like Brian Hoyer getting a concussion. I mean, for the record, I don't think Brian Hoyer would have even finished that game even if he stayed healthy. I never wanted him to start in the first place. I always go back to that Kansas City start that he had. I lost all respect for Brian Hoyer in that game. That was just like the most pathetic performance from a guy that has been with the team forever. He's a veteran in the league. He started in the league. I felt like he was so unprepared. He looked so stupid trying to run that offense in Kansas City, but whatever. I'm past Hoyer. He's so irrelevant to me now. But it's like, people coming in and seeing that because I had no problem with Mac throwing the interceptions. Of course, you don't want it to become a habit. You don't want it to start getting ugly. And I felt like that throw that he had that led to the interception. I'm fully in on the conspiracy that it hit the ESPN, the rope over the stadium. I'm running with that conspiracy. I'll do anything to defend Mac. But but it's like, I had no problem with him doing that because I felt like, last year, and, I still think he averaged around an interception a game, but he was so safe with the ball. And I was ready to see him just start having more deep throws and taking more risks and, maybe sacrificing a few percentage points with that completion percentage and up in those interceptions. But if that meant that we get more chunk plays and we get, more touchdowns, because that's the thing is yardage isn't that bad. It's that he's not getting those passing touchdowns either. And, that's more of a fantasy conversation. As long as we're scoring points and winning games, I don't really care. But I just feel like, he was starting to throw those interceptions. People saw Zappy come in, win a couple games. And, I think that you can kind of pick those games apart a little bit, but do it with efficiency, not turning the ball over. People were like, wait, this is way better because we're not turning the ball over. And we had just lost a game against the Ravens with Mac where, all of a sudden, we had Aguilar fumbling the ball. We had Mac throwing interceptions. I think we had 5 straight possessions with a chance to take the lead. And we turned the ball over every time. And people were so sick of that. But I just think that there's a patience problem because I think people now are getting antsy as far as not having that star quarterback. And I think we have to accept that we don't have that top tier star quarterback and back. And for me, that's not enough to jump ship. I still think that he can be, I think that Kirk Cousins level comparison is always great. And, of course, Kirk Cousins is a dork, but, Mac's a goofy guy too, but, everyone seems to like him. I think he flashed great potential of, having a high power offense and being able to run that in college. So if we can figure that out, I think he can be great. I think people just need to be patient with him. And I think that people need to accept that it's year 2. We had, I'd say the best rookie quarterback out of what was supposed to be a loaded class. And I still think the class is decent, but, to go there and to have Justin Fields look so good, playing across from you and everything, it just felt that loss itself was just so deflating. Pete, you got anything?
Yeah, I guess Zappy as a player, like I'm not judging his quarterback play. I'm not judging his quarterback play. I think the batted balls are probably a problem. Seemed to be a problem in that game. I think it's fixable. The interceptions he had, that play was very schemed well. Who was he throwing to on the flat? Play action flat late in the game. Pick 6.
Shit, I forget.
I think it was Myers or Bourne, but they were lined up on the right side of the field, ran across the middle, cut behind the linebackers, got lost in the coverage, had 2 yards on the linebacker cover in the flat. Zappy had to move around the pocket a little bit and then made the cardinal rule of mistakes for any quarterback at any level is to underthrow a flat. You underthrow a flat, that's pick 6 all day. He was on the run and he threw it in there. That's the kind of rookie mistakes I expect from him.
Yeah, and
I saw that he didn't really take a lot of first team reps in practice that week. So I think the football fans, the Patriot fans who know football wanted to see Max start that game and finish that game. The "what have you done for me lately" fans who are used to having Tom Brady for the best quarterback of all time for 2 decades just wanted to see Zappy come in because they felt the energy, they felt the jump. They're in the stadium. They were cheering for Zappy because they wanted that thrill back. But I think the football fans knew that Mac needed to start that game and should have finished the game. I mean, I've got Mikey Bowen texting me Justin Fields GIFs at halftime, down 15 points. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Like if you know football, you knew what the situation was. You wanted Mac to start. You wanted him to finish the game. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was sick to my stomach. Mikey Bowen texting me Justin Fields GIF sliding in the rain after his bullshit San Francisco loss in week 1. During halftime, down 10 points to the Bears. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and it also hurt having N'Keal Harry put Kyle Duggar in the tent. And, he was out there just cracking skulls. He's hitting guys. He had a reception, we
didn't even hit on the defense or special teams yet, but that looked like worse than the quarterback situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, sure. That's the thing, right? Everyone's so focused on the quarterback situation. We've come out pretty hot talking about the play calling and all that. But that was the big thing is I wasn't really worried about, I had the path spread. I wasn't too worried about who was going to play at quarterback because I thought that the defense was just going to sit on the Bears all night, completely smother them. And, they just completely gashed us. I mean, Justin Fields had 80 something yards. I think they had 40 total rushing yards as a team. We had Herbert getting involved. We had Montgomery, doing what he does. And, it was just so brutal. I mean, I think they were 11 for 17 on 3rd down or something like that. And it felt like every single one of those was 3rd and long. I mean, the amount of times I saw 3rd and 7 on the screen and I had this pit in my stomach because I just knew that the Bears are going to completely break us and convert on that, and not just get the 7 yards that they need, but get like 20 yards out of it, was just insane. And I know that we had some injuries going into it, and I know that we lost some guys during it, but I felt like we had a truly great defense this year, and I think that it's something that can carry us. And defenses have bad games, but to do it against such a bad offensive team that I have zero respect for, which is I think the most damning part of it. How are you guys feeling about the defense?
Yeah, I was talking to people leading up to that game, and I didn't think Chicago would even hit double digits. Like,
I think their team total was 15.5.
Yeah.
So, like a touchdown and 3 field goals pretty much.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not trying to be like hyperbolic or anything. Like, going into that game, I was like, this, considering how pass friendly the NFL is, quarterback friendly the NFL is, I was like, this team legit might have the worst passing offense in the history of football. Like, look who they're throwing to. Equanimous, St. Brown, Dante Pettis. Like, are you shitting me? And the Patriots couldn't get off the field. But I mean, at the end of the day, they still gave up less than 200 yards passing. It was really just the backbreakers on third downs. Nobody being able to set the edge. I'm like, what are we doing out there? It's, Judon played well against the pass. He got, we had 2.5 sacks.
Yep.
But nobody could set the edge on defense. They got whatever they wanted.
Oh, it's horrible. And I feel like that's a thing that we see all the time. I mean, you could bring it all the way back to, not necessarily setting the edge, but it's like, how many times do I feel like in Pat's history, you can go all the way back to the David Tyree catch, where it's like, I just feel like we always have guys in the backfield, but we never get the sacks. And it's especially those years where it feels like we're really going to have to grind it out for these wins. It feels like that's always what's holding us back. It's like, especially against these mobile quarterbacks, I felt like Judon could have had 10 sacks Monday night, and he's right there. And then Justin Fields just slipped, and it speaks to his ability, to actually run with the ball, but he was able to slip out and just miss his hand, and all of a sudden Justin Fields is taken off for a 10-yard run or something. And it was like everything that could go wrong on these plays. I mean, even the Khalil Herbert play, it's like we had successfully defended that exact same pass earlier in the game. Justin Fields was able to make the adjustment, come a little sidearm. It was a horribly thrown ball. The ball was like twisting like this, and it got right to Khalil Herbert, and he just sprinted straight into the end zone. And yeah, it was like we just couldn't get any of those stops when we needed them. And, just when it felt like we were getting that momentum, I mean, we came back, we got the lead once Zappe came in. And then all of a sudden it was like all those good vibes that came in from him coming just completely flat. And, the Bears just got right back to it. I was so brutal. Pete, how are you feeling? You mentioned the defense. You also mentioned the special teams.
Yeah, I mean, it was a three-phase loss. You expect the Patriots to come prepared on defense and special teams at minimum, and they didn't do it. I don't have stats on it, but the Justin Fields scrambles on third down for conversions was literally a knife just twisting in your gut every time it happened. I don't think we put a QB spy on him until the second half. Like, I mean, sure, set the edge, right? We didn't set the edge. I was scrambling up the middle. I don't think we had a QB spy on him until the second half. So, I mean, Clarence Belichick, before the game, he said Justin Fields is always dangerous with the ball in his hands, but we didn't put a spy on him until second half. So
yeah, and I thought Jamie Collins getting activated was like a perfect sign for that. Like, we're going to have this unbelievable athlete just roaming the field and keeping an eye on that guy. And
yeah, and then I also feel like the Bears are always a fourth quarter late interception team, or a bad fumble, or a muff punt in the second half, and like I feel like they were just feeding off everything that was going wrong on our end. And they didn't make a mistake. Justin Fields didn't make a mistake in the second half. I think he had one pick. But yeah, three-phase loss. Special teams, defense, and of course the offense.
Yeah, and credit where it's due to Justin Fields. Credit where it's due to Justin Fields too. But I just feel like people are maybe overreacting a little bit, where all of a sudden they're like, people are talking about him like he's a boss and like he sucks. And it's like, I still feel that way. I mean, he did not play like this perfect game. I mean, he is like the embodiment of the floor that rushing ability can give you, right? Where, we had talked about it with Malik Willis in the preseason, where people were completely enamored because he was running for all these yards. And it's like, he got benched in the first game because he wasn't throwing the ball, but all the headlines were like, Malik Willis dazzles in his debut, that type of thing. And I think that this is another example of where, if you can run the ball, people can completely ignore what you do with the passing. And, like Amaral said, it's like, they still allowed, under 200 yards passing and everything. It's like, yeah, because he really wasn't throwing the ball. He was making the throws that he needed on those third downs, but he was not really moving the ball effectively in the air. I mean, he was running with the ball and he just needed it straight out of his own hands. It was just completely bizarre. He still had some horrible fumbles and interceptions and everything. So, I still think like the jury's still out on him, and I'm not ready to all of a sudden say that we're all wrong for thinking that he sucks. Yeah, Pete, I think I might have interrupted. You have something else?
Yeah, question. I mean, I feel like we covered the past, right? My football coach growing up, he always used to say, "Today's history, tomorrow's a mystery," right?
Yeah,
Shout out HQ, Tyler Amaral. But that's the past. We covered the past. Going to the future, right?
Wait, let me say one more. Let me say one more thing. Speaking of the future, it's still Pats related, but
yeah.
I will say I do not think that all of a sudden we're like we're going to go on like this huge losing streak. I still think we're going to come back, and I think we're going to beat the Jets at MetLife this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's favored 2.5. I love.
I think the Jets fans are getting a little too cocky. I think that this line, the Pats on the road coming off that loss, the fact that they're still favorites, I think is very telling. And I think the Jets fans, I got Jets fans. I got boots on the ground in New Jersey. I got Jets fans laughing at me. I got them texting me, adding me to group chats. We're a complete laughing stock, and I feel like that's kind of adding to my stress over this game. But as you said, last week was in the past. I still think we're gonna move forward. I said, I felt like we were a 7-win minimum team. I felt like that was absolute basement, worst case scenario. I still think that we're at this point. I'm still a little iffy on if we're gonna be able to sneak into the playoffs, but the NFL kind of sucks this year. I feel like you have like your top two teams. This is a take that's been going around a little bit, not an original take, but I think when you look at it, we just got a trade that went through.
Yeah, I said it's Latavius.
All right. Latavius Murray for a 23 third. All right.
Oh, we had a mid-recording trade. That would have been electric.
Oh, that would have been fantastic. But yeah, but it's like, I still feel like we can come out. I still, the NFL itself, I think is pretty weak all around. So I still wouldn't be surprised if, I feel like we still have this winnable stretch of games. We could still go on a little bit of a run. I feel like this is kind of how we were feeling last year, right? They had some kind of an ugly start last year, and then all of a sudden they went on this crazy run into the Bills game. And I still think we can do that. I think that Mac Jones now is going to have that full week. It's going to be a lot less of it's going to be way more of a low pressure game, right? You're at the 1:00 game at MetLife. Belichick hates the Jets. He owns the Jets. I think this is going to be a good bounce back spot. And then I think it's going to be all about how we respond building it off of that. So we need to come out. We need to get a win. I still think we can do that. So I'm not feeling bad about the season. It's more about, are we committed to Mac? And then what's our direction? We need to actually build around him and give him a real chance, because we're going to get into that year 3, year 4, where we really have to make that decision on if he's the guy. So we got to give him that chance to succeed or fail. Let's give him these weapons going into next year. Let's figure that out. And, then we can start making that decision. Pete, what were you saying about moving to the future?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. For how long? How long is the leash? How long is the leash right now for Mac Jones?
Well, I know you were saying in our group chat earlier, you were giving him so you said 3 weeks. You mean like if he's playing horrible after 3 weeks, you're saying?
No, I'm saying 3 games. So we got Jets, Colts, Jets, right? If we drop 2 to the Jets out of the playoff contention, I'm considering putting Zappy in for that 4th week, for the next 4th game. So yeah, I said 3 games. If we go 1-2, get the win against the Colts and drop 2 to the Jets, I think I want Zappy. If we go 2-1 or 3-0, which we should, I think you let Mac ride. But once you kind of take Mac out the next time, then that's when you start probably getting calls for trades for him. So that was my question. How long is the leash? I'm putting it at 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in our best interest to just name him the starting quarterback for the rest of the season at the very least. Just say Mac's our starter. That's what he was before. You don't lose your job just because you got hurt, that type of thing. And I think we just got to ride it out, because like I said, I think we're still in that kind of transition phase, right? If we are able to win these games and get into the playoffs and do all that, that's fantastic. But as long as we're showing some progress week to week, that's great, right? And I think that we're still kind of evaluating. Like I said, we get into that year 3, year 4, all of a sudden we're talking about picking up that first round option, that type of thing. We need to start making that decision. So I think you need to let him ride it out. You kind of can't feed the trolls with the quarterback controversy, that type of thing. You just got to stick by your guy through the good and the bad. Mac needs to come out and play better. That's a big thing too. If he comes out and stinks it up, he makes that hard to do, but I trust him to do that. So he needs to come out. He needs to have a good bounce back week here. Even if they lose, I mean, I still think we're in a good position to win, but even if they come out and lose, the Jets are playing well. If we could be competitive and we can come out and at least play a good game, then, I'd be feeling really good. But, if Mac comes out 3 and out, and then that horrible interception like he threw against the Bears, then, it becomes tougher to defend him. So he needs to also figure it out and, sit down, do a little bit of his breathing and really settle in and start running this offense. But, I think it's in our best interest to ride him out for the rest of the year. Amaral, what do you think?
I think Belichick was him naming Mac starter today. I think is enough.
Yep.
Remove the questions that people might have, any speculation about who might be starting. He should have did that last week. He should have just came out and said, whether either way, Mac or Zappy is my starter this week. So there wasn't that confusion going into it. So I think right now how he's playing it is fine. He named Mac the starter, and not Saturday night. He did that today. So, whatever, just let it roll. And if Mac sucks and we get, to game 3 or 4 and nothing's turning around in the offense, and in those 4 games he has 2 touchdowns and another 5 picks, then yeah, of course you move on. But for now, I think they're playing it the right way. Start Mac until he gives you a real reason not to. And I'm not talking just like one loss to the Jets or maybe a lot back-to-back losses to the Jets and the Colts. Like if he's playing okay and the defense just forgot how to play, then I don't think Mac should be benched for those losses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But
I was going to say, I think those
clarified.
losses are irrelevant.
Yeah.
Where
I should have clarified there.
Yeah. As long as he's competitive and he's shown it, but exactly like Amaral said, where if the losses aren't, you can't just pin them on him, then it's really whatever, right? I mean, if we come out and we lose to some teams that have been okay, then it's not the worst thing. It's more to, is he throwing touchdowns? Is he not throwing picks and that type of thing? But yeah, I mean, Mac, can't get a complete pass. He didn't come out, we wouldn't be having this conversation if he came out and he was slinging the ball and completing all these passes, and he looked good running, and that's the thing that made it so unbelievable. You couldn't really put it on his health because he was coming back from a sprained ankle. All of a sudden we were seeing him run like we've never seen him before.
Yeah.
I think he was our second leading rusher.
He was leading rusher at halftime still, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's why I had a problem with Belichick saying he pulled him because of injury. It clearly wasn't injured. Like that was the one thing that I just couldn't get past with Bill.
Yeah, so it's like, Mac needs to come back and he needs to respond as well. He can't get a total free pass, even though I do think he was set up for failure. But yeah, I mean, if in 3 games he's still playing like he was playing in those first 3 games, then it's like, all right, now we need to have a serious conversation about it where, these first 3 with Zappy starting in place of him during injury, it was maybe a little bit unfair benching. But yeah, I think if 3 games from now he's playing the same way, then yeah, I think this conversation becomes a lot more serious. But, we got to stand by our guy. We got to hope that he figures it out. And, there's really no reason to not think so, right? Like I said earlier, a lot of people are just throwing at a whole season where we see, and I understand, that was a whole past season. That was a year ago, all that stuff. But, we've seen sophomore slumps. He came out, he was playing, maybe a little bit stiffer competition, everything. But yeah, if he's going to come out and, it would be really nice if he could just silence the haters, stomp all over the Jets, and then we can just move forward with everything. So, that's what I'm hoping for. Anybody else got any closing statements on the Pats? I know Pete's got a little bit of an activity for us.
Last thing on that I had was bring it back to Dynasty. I did receive an offer for Bailey Zappe, strictly draft capital. What do you think and I guess the offer came right as we had that second touchdown drive, so riding a high. What do you think the draft capital is worth for Zappe right now?
I don't know. It's tough because you could be buying incredibly low on the Pats' next quarterback, or you could be spending a draft pick on a guy that's a career backup, right? Because Mac might figure it out, or the Pats also might just say, you know what, Zappe played well as a backup, but that's kind of his ceiling, almost like a Jacoby Brissett type of guy. He can come in these emergencies, but when you're going to go the whole season with him, maybe he's not the guy that you want to be starting. So, I still wouldn't be willing to invest too much. I think I'd still be maybe like a 2023 third and change or something. But I don't think I'd be diving into the second round. I don't know. What
I wouldn't be. I think if you have some picks, some future thirds, throw them in there. Maybe you get lucky. But I think Zappe's a career backup. So
yeah, exactly. It's like, I think that's, I feel like the answer that we kind of got out of that game was that, Mac might not be the guy, but I also don't think Zappe is the guy either. Like I said, I don't think that I don't think that this is a Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady moment just yet. I'm not ready to call it that. So it's like, I still think that it's a big investment. It's a big gamble if you're trading for Zappe. So if you have a third rounder or something, third rounders are always a bit of a dart throw. So maybe it's worth using on a guy that you know can at least be productive in a game. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be looking for Bailey Zappi to be my long-term answer at quarterback in the dynasty.
The offer was a 2023 second projected 2.3 to 2.6-ish.
That sounds like a Bowen offer. That sounds like he was offering you my pick.
It was not Bowen. I will refrain from giving out the name, but based off you guys' answers, maybe I'll check back and see if that offer's still on the table before this epi airs.
I might throw that right away. Man, I would have. I mean, did you get like a physical offer, or was that a verbal thing?
I mean, it was a text. It was a text, but it seemed pretty solid, and I just like couldn't. I mean, obviously, I'm super pumped about Zappi. I got the guy for $54. The entire fucking league ripped me to shreds, and then I'm right about this guy. There's no better feeling than being right about a dynasty prospect before he even sees the field. I mean, I picked this guy up.
Once again, I don't think
day
anybody
you
was
could
ever
possibly own Bailey Zappi. I picked him up for $54. I said the Patriots spend 4th round draft capital on a guy with all the records in college football. I'm going to get this guy on my team.
Yeah, no, I will say I never think the argument was ever that we thought Bailey Zappi was bad or not worth rostering. I think it was always strictly about how much you spent in relation to what the rest of the league spent.
Yeah, we don't need to go down that hole. But the offer came right after his first 2 touchdown drives, and I was like, man, I'm running so much of a high right now. I just got to let me come down before I even consider.
Yeah. Well, even I was after those first 2 drives.
Yeah.
I was like, shit. Like,
let's go.
I mean, that's what I said. I was like, shit. I mean, because I still felt like Mac was done dirty. I felt like that was a really gross way to kind of take him out of the game. And, I mean, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed on national TV, ESPN, everybody seeing our first round pick get booed. I just thought that was embarrassing. And, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, what can I say? Like, I came in, scored 14 points, and all of a sudden we got the lead. So it's like, I was like, shit, all right, maybe he's happy he's the guy, and I'll ride with it. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't a fan of how he came in, but how he performed right away was fucking awesome. That was fantastic. I mean, I definitely would have taken a early 2nd round pick for him, but I would have been like, dude, sit there right away. What the hell?
I might see if it's still on the table. We'll see.
But all right. I think that kind of closes the book on the Pats. I think that we kind of got a lot of stuff off our chest. I think it's good vibes only moving forward. So we can kind of leave it at that. And hopefully we don't have to have any more of these episodes for the rest of the season at least. But Pete, you did say you had an activity or something, right?
Yeah, backed by popular demand. It's been requested by multiple team members or league members. They loved it. Amaral, I'm not sure if you tuned into last week's episode was Power Rankings. The episode before that, we aired Pick a Player with Pete, working title, still a working title. But it's pretty easy to understand. So if you didn't tune in, I'm sure you'll catch on. Concept here, I got 3 players. 3 players in Dynasty. We're talking about current rankings, so current performance in the NFL, how they rank in Dynasty. So when I say RB6, they're the RB6 in our Dynasty League. Pick a Player with Pete, working title. I got 2 rounds for us. First one. Running backs, all within 4 points of each other. RB6, RB7, RB8. Same as 2 weeks ago. Amaral, you pick one of the running backs, RB6, RB7, RB8. I tell you who it is and their stat line. KB, you pick the other player, RB6, RB7, RB8, stat line. And then together, you both have a guess to guess the 3rd player.
All right. Amaral, you can start. What do you want?
All right, let's go with 6. Let's go RB6.
RB6, Breece Hall, 463 rushing yards, 218 receiving yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown. KB?
All right, I'll go RB8. I'll leave
RB8, Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
362 rushing, 34 receiving, 1 rushing touchdown, 3 receiving touchdowns. You're guessing RB7. The stat line for RB7, 536 rushing yards, 131 receiving yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, 0 receiving touchdowns.
How many rushing touchdowns?
5.
5 rushing touchdowns. I'll give you a hint on this one.
Okay.
2 of the players in the AFC, 1 of the players is in the NFC.
So 4. So this is an AFC player.
Yeah,
I should have said that before you guys guessed the player. Working title, working title. That was a hint before I should have given the players. Working title. So yeah, AFC running back, RB7, 536 rushing, 131 receiving, 5 rushing touchdowns, 0 receiving.
Teams right now. I'm trying to run through the teams.
Well, keep those eyes up. No cheating me.
No, I know. Yeah. I'll go hands up and everything.
Yeah.
Let me think. I don't think he's in the AFC East. Could that be a Derrick Henry? He started off a little slow. Derrick Henry might have a receiving touchdown though.
he has multiple receiving touchdowns. I don't
Yeah.
think Henry.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let me think. 5. It's okay.
those stats are as of when?
As of this week, updated stats.
Updated stats.
See, it's not Clyde. Clyde's got those receiving touchdowns.
This is a great one. The listeners are perplexed right now.
I know. I'm trying to. Okay, wait. Okay, let me get back in this division. It can't be. No. It can't be. Nobody on the Broncos.
AFC RB7, 536 rushing, 131 receiving, 5 rushing touchdowns, 0.
Josh Jacobs is too hot now, right?
Well, they had a bye already though, so that yardage kind of, I think, fits.
Yeah, could it be Josh Jacobs?
If you guys want to lock in one answer together, you can, or you can go separate if you want.
I think I'm gonna go Josh Jacobs.
That's what I was thinking too.
That's a good point with the bye week. That's a good point with the bye week. Should we lock it in, Josh Jacobs? One answer together?
Yeah, I think lock it in.
All right, we're gonna go Josh Jacobs.
It's Derrick Henry.
Oh, god damn it.
Derrick Henry does not have a receiving touchdown since 2019.
Jesus, I thought he had like maybe he had long receptions or something early.
Yeah, cause I remember I at least remember like you said, a long reception. So I was like, I feel like he has at least one receiving touchdown.
Yeah, I thought he had 2.
I thought that was the giveaway. No receiving touchdowns. Like there's only a couple backs in the league that only rush the ball. Guy has 3 receiving touchdowns in his 6-year career.
Shit.
That's pretty crazy.
That was a good one.
But god damn it.
All right, a little more challenging on round 2.
All right.
We're talking wide receivers. Wide receivers
Okay.
are tough because you only get the really receptions, receiving stats. But wide receivers, all within 2 points of each other. They are all in the NFC. And there's 2 players in the same division. You are not going to get to choose. I'm going to give you 2 players this time.
All right.
2 points of each other, all in the NFC. 2 players of the 3 are in the same division. Player A, CD Lamb, wide receiver 15, 37 receptions, 479 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns.
That's wide receiver 15, you said?
CD Lamb, wide receiver 15, 37 receptions, 479 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Player C, Chris Olave, wide receiver 17, 32 receptions, 495 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. We're looking for player B, wide receiver 16, with the stat line 33 receptions, 503 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
All in the NFC. 2 of those players, 2 of the 3 are in the same conference. I give you CD Lamb and Chris Olave. Who's in the middle?
Terry McLaurin? Could it be Terry McLaurin? NFC East? Because I don't may have a little bit more than 2 touchdowns though. He had that one with Heineke, and then
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he had one early on in the season. So Terry McLaurin was my knee-jerk reaction though. It's either in the NFC East or in the NFC South. Because he said 2 are in the same division.
And it can't be Atlanta or the Giants.
Yeah, definitely not. I don't know. It was Garrett Wilson's big week. Was that enough to get him up to that yardage? No. Garrett, because he's got what? How many? 500 receiving yards, something like that.
No, Wilson's in the AFC.
He's in the
All
AFC.
Oh,
NFC.
that's right. Yeah. Okay, wait.
CD Lamb, wide receiver 15. Chris Olave, wide receiver 17. We're looking for wide
Devontae
receiver
Smith,
16.
maybe. Could be Devontae Smith. He had that stinker.
He's had a couple. He's been hit or miss this year.
Yeah. He had that. He had 0 points week 1, I know.
He
And
had
two
like what
huge weeks
160
and then
though.
two kinda
He had like
average.
160 and a half or something.
Yeah.
So
2 touchdowns. I'm trying to.
You want the division?
No.
no, I don't think so. I don't
Yeah,
want to.
We narrowed it down to those 2, so I don't think we need to. Okay, let's see. No, yeah, like you said, not the Falcons.
The Falcons even have 500 yards.
Could be Mike Evans. Mike Evans might only have 2 touchdowns. I think he might only have those 2 touchdowns, that 2 touchdown game he had.
And he had a suspension.
And he had the suspension, so his yardage could be down a little bit. Because he'd be what? Like why that would be making what, like wide receiver 16?
16, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to go Evans now. Okay, so Saints. Okay, yeah, not the Saints, not the Panthers, not the the Panthers are not supporting anybody that high, and then not the Falcons. So it's either the Bucks. It's Evans. If it's the NFC South, I feel like it has to be Evans. And then if it's the NFC East, I could see it being Terry. I could also see it being Devontae. I just don't know what their touchdowns are at. Should we lock in one answer together again?
Lock in 2. That way you get more coverage.
Yeah. Let's double dip. Do you think it's one of those 3? I can't think of who else. Because I think AJ Brown's probably done too much. Maybe not though, because AJ Brown, he had those big weeks to start the season, but I feel like he hasn't been putting up the huge points. So it could be either of the Eagles guys, but I think I'm going to go with Evans. I'm going to go with Evans, and then Evans will be my guess, and then I'll let you. I'll talk it out, but I'll let you decide on the second.
I'm gonna go just. Fuck, this is tough. I'm gonna go. Because I feel like there's no way it's true, I'm just gonna throw DJ Moore up there.
All right,
Mike Evans, wide receiver 14.
No.
We're looking for wide receiver 16.
God damn it.
KB, you said it both rounds. It's AJ Brown, wide receiver 16.
Wow, that was a late poll too.
I can't believe you. I mean, you're on the right track with Devonta Smith. I thought that was going to spark an Eagles conversation, but
Yeah,
I
'cause
can't believe you
that's what I
said
was
both
thinking.
answers.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, AJ Brown, he was eating to start the season, but then I feel like it's kind of been a little bit of a regression. So, but I thought maybe his start was too hot. But yeah, the 2 touchdowns kind of shocks me.
The buys are kind of throwing me off too. I'm trying to think of. So he has 500 yards in 6 games. So
Yeah.
that makes more sense. Yeah.
But,
Pick a player with Pete. It's got legs. It's got legs.
I like it. I like it.
that was much smoother than the Wallace episode.
Yeah, working type.
All right, is that it? Is that all you got for the rounds?
Yeah, that's what I got. I got some ideas though for next time we run it. I'm gonna run with it.
All right, yeah, but I feel like I think we're going on like 45 minutes or something like that. So I think we can call it at that, unless anybody else has anything else that they wanted to bring up.
Yeah, I just have one last question. What the hell happened to Jake Bailey? He had the worst performance out of any Patriot player.
Yeah, and like he's probably one of the best at what he
like
does for us.
It is. I just think so many things went wrong that it's like we just can't even. It's like I didn't even think about that. I was just so focused on the offense and all that. It's like the defense is so bad. It's like Pete said. It really was we lost on all 3 phases. There, it was horrible.
I think let's see here. I think he's last in the league in net average.
Isn't he the highest? Isn't he the highest paid punter in the league?
He's
too?
like top 2 or 3. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
He might be the highest.
Didn't we bring in another punter like this summer or something?
Yeah, I think so. He's 30th in the league in average.
Nice and top paid. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what they say about that punter shelf life, but All right, so we can I guess we can call it that. Amaral, always a pleasure to have you on. Love to keep working into the fold. We do have you did make a big trade today. We got the deadline coming up. Pete, let's set that straight real quick. It's the very end, right? The end of Monday Night Football, Week 10.
Yeah, so the setting said it's got to be accepted before the last game of the Week 10 ends. So I'm assuming if you could accept it in the third quarter of the Monday night game, should be good. Update, it's right around 19 days or 18 days, 23 hours, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think that we can almost just set it at that, and then if anything were to happen where we misunderstood it, and right before the game or something,
yeah, I imagine those
off, then
trades will go through before
I'd be
week
willing
starts.
as commissioner to push through anything that happens through the end of Week 10. I think that we'll just call that, whether it's official or unofficial, that's the deadline. Because every year I forget how the trade deadline works on Sleeper. So I think that we're right, though. I think as soon as Week 10 ends, it's over. That's what it is. So I'll put something in the chat, pin it, get the official information up there so people don't forget. But
on the market.
Yeah, I'm on Raw.
Everyone's for sale.
I'm on Raw. Swift might be for sale. He's been floated around. I've heard some rumors about that. McMorrow, he said that he's going to see where the points for stand after Week 9, and then he'll decide if he's a buyer or seller at the deadline. So McMorrow just dropped that Denver quarterback, that bum. But yeah, we'll call it at that. It was great to just have this vent session and maybe talk through some things as Pats fans, Pats fan to Pats fan, that type of thing. Thank you to Sundog Multimedia, easy peasy moving and service. Lex and Pete show. We will be back next week for the Power Rankings 5.0. All right, let me